As Heartland Season 18 wrapped up, fans expected the usual. Perhaps a teaser, a production update, or even a cryptic post from one of the cast members hinting at what's next. But instead, they were met with complete silence. No renewal announcement, no behind-the-scenes glimpses, no confirmation of filming dates. For a show that's maintained a rhythm for nearly 2 decades, this kind of delay is unsettling. And in the age of social media, silence is louder than ever. The fear of cancellation began to spread. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. Facebook groups filled with worried posts. Viewers started to wonder if the emotional conclusion of Season 18 was actually a series finale in disguise. Some pointed out how neatly certain storylines had been wrapped up. Amy's decision to stay single, Lou's new beginning, and Jack's full-circle moment of reflection. Could it be that Heartland had quietly bowed out, giving us a soft goodbye without saying the words? But here's where it gets interesting. Despite the lack of official updates, viewership numbers for Heartland remain strong, especially in the United States. On platforms like Netflix and UP Faith and Family, Heartland consistently ranks among the most watched family dramas. Its international fan base continues to grow, long after the show's episodes air in Canada. That kind of popularity is rare, especially for a long-running series. Most shows lose steam after a decade. Heartland somehow keeps pulling audiences in. So, if the ratings are still high, why hasn't Season 19 been confirmed? One possible reason is timing. Historically, CBC has made renewal announcements for Heartland at various points in the year. Some seasons were confirmed right after the finale aired. Others weren't announced until just weeks before filming began. In fact, the gap between seasons has sometimes stretched longer than fans remember. It's not unprecedented for the show to go quiet before roaring back to life. Another factor is internal negotiations. Behind the scenes, there's a lot that has to be settled before a new season can move forward. Budgets, scheduling, creative direction, and perhaps most importantly, cast availability. This becomes especially critical for a show like Heartland, where the emotional core is carried by a few central characters. Without Amy Fleming, there is no Heartland, and that's where the next big question arises. Amber Marshall, who has played Amy since the beginning, remains one of the most beloved figures on Canadian television. But after nearly 20 years in the same role, it's only natural that questions about her future would arise. Has she decided to step back? Is she negotiating new terms? Or is she simply taking a well-deserved break before returning to set? None of these answers are confirmed, but any of them could explain the delay. Some fans believe that the cast and producers are intentionally holding off on announcements to build suspense or to prepare for something major. This theory gained even more traction when Graham Wardle's name began circulating again. After his character Ty's death in Season 14, many believed his story was over. But recent hints from cast members and cryptic social media posts have sparked rumors of a possible return, perhaps not as a full-time character, but in a flashback, a dream, or some other emotional tribute. If that's the case, then the delay might not signal cancellation at all. It could mean that something special is being planned, something big enough to change the direction of the show, and something that requires more time, secrecy, and careful planning than usual. Still, nothing is confirmed, and that uncertainty continues to rattle fans. The absence of information has created a vacuum, one that's being filled with hope, fear, and endless speculation. But for those who followed Heartland from the very beginning, this isn't just about a TV show. It's about closure, connection, continuation. The characters feel like family, and their stories have become deeply personal. So, the idea that the series might end in silence, with no final goodbye, no grand farewell, feels almost unthinkable. To understand why Heartland Season 19 hasn't been confirmed yet, we need to look beyond the fan theories and dive into the practical realities of television production. Because while the audience may see silence as a sign of danger, inside the industry, it can simply mean that the gears are still turning. And those gears are more complex than ever. First, it's important to recognize the sheer size and scope of Heartland at this point in its life. 18 seasons is not just an achievement, it's a television legacy. Most shows don't survive past Season 5. Fewer make it to 10. Heartland has doubled that, becoming the longest-running one-hour scripted drama in Canadian television history. That kind of longevity doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of careful planning, strong fan support, and a cast and crew that truly believe in what they're doing. But longevity also brings its own challenges. After nearly 2 decades, everyone involved, actors, writers, producers, has to ask themselves a difficult question. Is there still more story left to tell? That question may be part of the current delay. The Heartland writers are known for treating the show's characters with great respect. They don't rush arcs, and they don't introduce drama just for shock value. If they're taking longer this time, it could mean they're wrestling with how to honor what's come before while still pushing the narrative into new and meaningful territory. Another major factor? Cast availability. Amber Marshall, the face of Heartland, has hinted in past interviews that she loves the series deeply. But she's also acknowledged the demands of returning season after season. It's not just about showing up on set, it's about fully inhabiting Amy Fleming, a character who has carried some of the most emotionally intense storylines on the show. After the loss of Ty Borden, Amy's arc became more complex than ever. Every scene carries the weight of grief, healing, and resilience. That emotional burden doesn't just affect the character, it affects the actor too. So if Amber is taking extra time to decide her future with the show, that decision could influence every part of production. Without her commitment, CBC may hesitate to greenlight a full season. Then there's Graham Wardle. His name keeps surfacing in fan circles and entertainment media, and for good reason. Ty's death was one of the most defining moments in Heartland's entire run. It was raw, it was painful, and it changed everything. But the way fans responded to that storyline, grieving with Amy, feeling the emptiness of the ranch without Ty, proved how deeply invested people still are. Recently, subtle hints have suggested that Wardle may be reconsidering a return, at least in some capacity. He stayed close to the Heartland family through podcast interviews, fan events, and casual mentions online. If negotiations are happening behind the scenes to bring him back, even briefly, that could be another reason for the delay. His return would need to be handled delicately, narratively, emotionally, and contractually. Financial logistics could also be playing a role. Producing a show like Heartland isn't cheap. It's filmed on location, uses real horses, and involves a large ensemble cast. Costs have only risen since the pandemic, with safety measures and inflation affecting every part of production. CBC, like many broadcasters, may be weighing these costs against the benefits, and while Heartland remains popular, budgets are always a factor. But perhaps the most overlooked element is timing. The entertainment industry operates on cycles. Networks don't always rush renewal announcements unless there's a clear marketing strategy in place. The longer they wait, the more speculation grows, and sometimes that speculation keeps the fan base engaged. It's a risky move, but one that can work in the right circumstances. In Heartland's case, the timing might be deliberate. By waiting until late spring or early summer to make an official announcement, CBC may be preparing something more impactful, a trailer, a cast reunion, or even a confirmation that a beloved character is returning. Still, the lack of communication is frustrating for fans, and the longer the wait, the louder the rumors get. But for a show like Heartland, which has always prioritized emotional truth over cheap thrills, the delay might actually be a good sign. It could mean the team is taking their time not to figure out if the show should return, but how to make that return meaningful. Whether it's a full season or a final chapter, what happens next will shape how Heartland is remembered for years to come. And the pieces may already be falling into place. While networks, budgets, and cast availability all play crucial roles in deciding a show's future, one element that cannot be underestimated is the fans. And in the case of Heartland, the fans have become more than just viewers. They are a global family, bonded by their love for the characters, the values the show represents, and the emotional journeys that have unfolded over nearly 2 decades. Heartland's audience is unique. This isn't a show propped up by hype, cliffhangers, or celebrity drama. Its strength lies in its sincerity, in the quiet, heartfelt stories of a family working through grief, love, change, and renewal. And the fans who have followed this journey haven't just watched passively. They've built communities, shared their own stories, and defended the show fiercely in online spaces. When Ty Borden died in season 14, many shows would have lost their core audience. But instead of tuning out, Heartland fans leaned in. They cried with Amy, supported her healing, and respected the show's willingness to portray the hard reality of loss. That loyalty is now one of the strongest arguments for continuing the show. In the United States, where Heartland is available on Netflix and UP Faith and Family, it consistently ranks among the top streamed family dramas. Even years after its original episodes aired in Canada, Heartland continues to attract new fans globally. Fans who then go back to the beginning and binge all 18 seasons. That kind of dedication doesn't fade easily. More than just numbers, though, it's the emotional impact of the show that keeps fans so deeply invested. Heartland isn't flashy. It's not about twists and shocks. It's about resilience, connection, and the power of home. For many viewers, especially those who have experienced grief, family struggles, or personal loss, Heartland is more than entertainment. It's a source of comfort. And this emotional bond gives the show tremendous leverage. Networks know that cutting off a show with such a passionate base can backfire. Fans are vocal, organized, and persistent. They write letters, they start petitions, they flood comment sections. And every time there's a whisper of cancellation, those voices only grow louder. This may explain why CBC and the producers have remained careful with their public statements. They've said very little officially about season 19, but they also haven't said it's over. It's possible that behind the scenes, they're feeling the pressure from both sides. The business side, which may be questioning the cost of continuing, and the fan side, which is demanding closure, or at the very least, more time with the characters they love. Let's not forget that Heartland is more than a TV show. It's a symbol. In a media landscape full of dark thrillers and cynical comedies, Heartland offers something increasingly rare: hope. It tells us that healing is possible, that love can endure, and that families, no matter how imperfect, can hold each other together when it matters most. That kind of message is timeless and more relevant than ever. Social media has become a critical battleground in this fight for season 19. Every time a cast member posts an old photo, makes a cryptic comment, or shares a memory from the set, speculation ignites. Amber Marshall's Instagram is full of subtle clues. Behind-the-scenes videos resurface, fan theories explode, and through it all, one thing becomes clear: people care. Deeply. This fan-driven momentum could be what ultimately tips the scales. If enough people speak out, if enough viewers make it known that they want and need more Heartland, then season 19 becomes not just a possibility, but a necessity. Because ending a show like this in silence wouldn't just disappoint fans. It would go against everything the show stands for. And yet, that's where the suspense lies. Will the powers behind Heartland recognize this once-in-a-lifetime connection between show and audience? Or will they let it slip away, unfinished and unresolved? The answer still isn't clear. But one thing is certain: the fans aren't giving up. As the silence around Heartland Season 19 grows louder, fans are doing what they do best: looking for signs. And in a world where official announcements are scarce, every cryptic post, behind-the-scenes photo, or offhand comment becomes a potential clue. But what do these breadcrumbs actually mean? Is the show quietly setting the stage for a dramatic return, or are we witnessing the slow fade of a beloved series? Let's start with what we do know. Despite the lack of confirmation, several behind-the-scenes indicators suggest that the wheels are still turning. Multiple cast members have remained unusually active on social media, often sharing throwbacks to earlier seasons or making vague references to exciting things ahead. These posts, though never directly referencing season 19, have led fans to believe that something is happening, just not being shared yet. Amber Marshall, who plays Amy Fleming and remains the heart of the series, has kept things deliberately ambiguous. She hasn't confirmed her return, but she hasn't denied it either. In interviews and public appearances, she often speaks in hopeful tones, saying she's grateful for the journey and open to what's next. That's not the language of someone who's closed the door completely. Instead, it sounds like someone who's waiting, possibly for final negotiations, script outlines, or even confirmation that her longtime co-stars are also on board. And then there's Graham Wardle. Since his departure in season 14, his name has never left the conversation. Ty's death was shocking, painful, and left a massive void in the storyline. Yet fans have never fully accepted the end of his arc. Why? Because Heartland never truly gave them closure. Ty's final scenes were quick, understated, and emotionally devastating, but there was no final goodbye, no symbolic ending, no moment of resolution. It felt abrupt, as if a chapter was missing. Recently, Graham has reconnected with fans through his podcast, spiritual work, and even subtle references to his time on the show. And while he's never explicitly said he's returning, there's something about his recent tone that feels different, softer, more open. If a return is on the table, Even as a memory, a vision, or a symbolic appearance, it would explain the delays. Because bringing Ty back in any form would require careful writing, intense emotional planning, and likely the full involvement of Amber Marshall. That kind of reunion, no matter how brief, could give Heartland Season 19 the emotional closure fans have been craving for years. But not everything is hopeful. There are also signs that this silence might be masking real problems. Production costs have risen sharply in recent years, and even a relatively modest show like Heartland isn't immune. The cost of maintaining the ranch, training and caring for horses, shooting on location, and coordinating a veteran cast adds up. Networks like CBC must weigh these costs against potential returns, and while Heartland is still popular, it doesn't generate the same buzz as newer, trendier series. It's a slow burn, a loyal viewership show, not necessarily a ratings juggernaut. There's also the human factor. After 18 seasons, some cast and crew members may be ready to move on. That's not disloyalty. It's just life. Actors grow, new opportunities arise, and the grind of returning to the same role year after year can take its toll. If one or more key players are hesitating, that could easily stall the renewal process. And yet, despite all of this, the strongest piece of evidence that Season 19 might still happen is the fact that nothing has been ruled out. No farewell messages, no final cast interviews, no network statements confirming the end. In the world of TV, that kind of silence can mean trouble, or it can mean that negotiations are still underway, so fans continue to wait. They revisit past seasons, they search for clues, they hold out hope, not just for another season, but for answers. Will Amy find peace after Ty? Will Jack and Lisa face new challenges? Will Lou finally find balance between her family and career? These questions still linger. The story isn't finished. And maybe that's why the speculation refuses to die. Because deep down, everyone, fans, cast, and creators, knows there's still more to say. The only question now is whether the people with the power to make it happen are willing to listen. So, here we are, caught between silence and speculation, between hope and uncertainty. After 18 seasons of love, loss, and legacy, the future of Heartland now hangs in the balance. And the question remains, is this the end? Or just another turning point in a story that has always been about finding light through the darkness? What makes this moment so powerful and so painful is the emotional investment fans have carried with them since the very beginning. Heartland isn't just a TV show. For many, it has been a part of their lives, a reflection of their own struggles and triumphs. The story of Amy and Ty, of Jack's wisdom, of Lou's ambition, of Georgie's grit, and of a ranch that holds everything together. It resonates because it feels real, honest, grounded. And now, with the fate of Season 19 still undecided, that emotional bond is being tested. There's a reason this show has lasted as long as it has. While other series have come and gone, chasing trends or burning out under their own weight, Heartland has endured because it stayed true to its roots. It told stories about people, not superheroes or villains, but real, complicated, hopeful people. And in doing so, it created something bigger than itself. It created a community. That community is what makes this possible finale feel so different. If Heartland had ended with Season 18 and a clear goodbye, fans could have accepted it. They might have cried, they might have mourned, but they would have understood. But to end without warning, without resolution, without closure, that's harder to accept. Because it doesn't feel like a proper end. It feels like something unfinished. We still don't know if Amy will ever fully heal from Ty's death. We don't know if Lou and Peter will find their rhythm, or if Katie will follow her own path. We don't know what Georgie's future holds, or if Jack will finally slow down and enjoy the peace he's earned. There are so many threads still open, still waiting to be tied together. And maybe that's the greatest argument for one more season. Not to stretch things out endlessly, not to keep the show going just because it can, but to give these characters, and the fans who've walked beside them, a meaningful, respectful, and heartfelt goodbye. A season that wraps up the journey with the grace and sincerity that has always defined Heartland. The producers know this. The cast knows this. And perhaps most importantly, the fans deserve this. So, what now? Industry insiders continue to hint that decisions are being made behind closed doors. Some say a quiet renewal could be announced in the coming months. Others believe a shorter final season may be in the works, one designed to bring closure, not prolong the inevitable. Nothing is certain, but one thing is clear: the demand is still there. The love hasn't faded. If anything, it's stronger than ever. But even if Heartland does end here, with no final season and no official farewell, its impact will remain. The stories told at that little Alberta ranch have already carved a permanent space in television history. They've helped viewers through heartbreak, offered comfort in hard times, and reminded us that family, whether by blood or by choice, is what truly matters. If this is goodbye, then it's not just an ending. It's a celebration of 18 seasons, of unforgettable characters, of lessons learned and love shared. And if this isn't goodbye, if there's still one more ride ahead, then saddle up, because Heartland has always been about holding on to hope. And sometimes that hope is all it takes to keep the story alive. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you believe season 19 is coming? Or do you think we've seen our final ride through Hudson?